So as I often tend to do, every couple of months I try to go through my DVD collection and see if there's anything I can get rid of or anything I don't want anymore, and I found that I had a bunch of sequels and box sets to popular movies, and some of these were suggested to me for Blockbuster reviews, and some of them were movies I considered doing full reviews on at some point. So ultimately I decided it would make sense to talk about some of these movies for a movie marathon video. And I figured the overlying theme of it could be crappy sequels. We got 9 movies we're going to talk about, and unlike some other movie marathons where we went in like alphabetical order or just random order in the order of how I watched them, this time we're going to be going through movies in the year they were released. So we're going to start in the mid to late 80s and end around, well, the early 2020s. So with all that out of the way, the first movie we're going to be talking about is Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. This one was requested to me after I talked about Supergirl, and yeah, Supergirl was a hilariously bad movie, but oh man, I even mentioned Superman 4 being bad in my review of that, and it feels like it's just perfect to talk about it because, yeah, Superman 4 is one of the most infamously bad sequels to a really beloved movie. Like, the first 2 Supermans are really good movies, and then Superman 3, which I also considered talking about, but ultimately Superman 3 is bad, but Superman 4 is like a whole other level of bad. I mean, Superman 3 has a lot of shit that's wrong with it, like the fact that it's mostly focused on comedy that's really unfunny. Superman is barely in it. It mostly focuses on Richard Pryor. They somehow took one of the funniest guys of the 70s and 80s, like Richard Pryor, and somehow made him unfunny. I don't know how that's possible, but fucking Superman 3 did it. Superman 4, even for a silly Christopher Reeves Superman movie, is just so balls to the wall nuts and so horribly structured and such a horrible mess that, yeah, it does border on so bad it's funny, but for the most part, oh god, it is easily the worst of this generation of Superman. So the main plot, if you want to call it that, is that Superman wants to bring upon world peace, and his plan to do that is he goes to the UN and gives a speech about how he's going to round up all the world's nuclear weapons from every country, and he's just going to get rid of them. He's going to put them into a giant net and launch them into space. Now, as crazy as that sounds from 2025, even if you go back to the 80s and you're like, okay, it's a silly movie, it's supposed to be campy, it's like those old Golden Age and Silver Age comic books, you know, a lot of silly stuff happened back then, okay, sure, maybe we can suspend our disbelief. Nope, you can't do that with this movie. This movie, even in the realm of crazy, silly Superman stories, is absolutely batshit insane.
As of today, I'm not a visitor anymore, because the Earth is my home too. And I can't stand idly by and watch us stumble into the madness of possible nuclear destruction. And so I've come to a decision. I'm going to do what our governments have been unwilling or unable to do. Effective immediately, I'm going to rid our planet of all nuclear weapons.
But what's even more weird is, again, you know, try to look at it from, you know, it's a movie, it's not supposed to be real. It's still bizarre that it seems every country, specifically America and Russia, because it was the 80s, even as the Cold War was simmering down, we still had the tension with that going on. But it shows these countries launching their nukes into space after the speech is given. Like, everyone is so willing to just go, oh yeah, Superman said so at the UN, okay, better get rid of all of our nuclear weapons. Like I said, that's the main plot. There's like 16 other storylines going on here. You have it that the Daily Planet is bought out by some evil billionaire guy who's like kind of like Rupert Murdoch, I guess, and he wants to turn it into a bunch of smutty tabloid journalism.
What I have here are some mock copies of our new layout. It's super, don't you think?
Isn't that headline irresponsible?
Maybe. But it'll sell a hell of a lot of newspapers.
That guy has a daughter who falls in love with Clark Kent, so you got a bit of a love triangle going on with Lois, Clark, and this girl, Lacey. And really, the most that comes of that is, well, two scenes. There's one where Lois and Clark are hanging out in her apartment, and then he reveals his identity to her, and they rip off the flying scene from the first movie, like almost beat for beat. And then they rip off the mind-erasing kiss from the second movie, so after he reveals that, oh, he's Superman, he kisses her and she forgets all about it.
That's not fair. Lois, it's time to go. We'll be late.
Huh? What am I doing out here freezing my butt off?
Other than just reminding the audience of better Superman movies, what was the point of any of this? Then later on in the movie, when we're continuing the stupid love triangle bullshit, you have it that it's like a fucking scene out of a sitcom. It's like fucking Three's Company shit, where you have it that Lacey is the girl's name, and she wants to interview Superman, but it's also scheduled when he's supposed to go on a date with Lois. So he has to go back and forth between the interview and the date, and it's stupid. Good to see they were trying to keep up that terrible comedy from Superman 3, apparently. Meanwhile, you have it that Lex Luthor, played by the late, great Gene Hackman, he is in prison, and he gets busted out with the aid of his nephew, Lenny Luthor, played by John Cryer, who at that point was really only known for being Ducky and Pretty in Pink, and he's just as annoying here.
You gonna skip the country, Uncle Lex?
Lenny, you pathetic product of the public school system. Your Uncle Lex has had nothing on his awesome mind since he's been incarcerated except one thing.
Destroy Superman!
So once he's busted out, him and a bunch of other generic evil billionaires get together, and they're talking about, we will create an enemy of Superman that he has to go up against who could potentially defeat him, so that nothing stands in our way. So to do this, they have to get some of his DNA. They go to a museum that has a hair that's holding up a massive weight to show off how impressive, just a single strand of Superman's hair can hold up this massive weight. And apparently, it's also, going by this movie's dumbass logic, you can just simply cut it with a pair of bolt cutters like nothing. Okay, yeah, sure, whatever. And then they launch it into space, it collides into the sun, and fetus and everything, it grows into a fully grown man that Superman has to go up against. It's a villain by the name of Nuclear Man, which sounds like a Captain Planet character.
You have my voice. No, you have my voice. Just remember, I made you.
Yeah, you're just an experiment, freako.
There are these lame fight scenes where Superman doesn't even really do anything. You have Nuclear Man just attacking people in the streets and overacting like crazy. And Superman just kind of hangs out there and is just, stop! Wait, no, don't do that!
Stop! Don't do it! The people!
And you have a bunch of set pieces where they're flying around with really shitty green screen effects, because let it be known, the green screen in this movie is god-awful. There's a bunch of set pieces, like he tries to destroy the Statue of Liberty and Superman picks it up, like it's nothing. They go to like the Great Wall of China and he destroys the Great Wall, and then Superman, using like mind powers, is able to rebuild it with stop motion. They end up on the moon and there's a fight scene there which is in slow motion and it's boring as hell. Honestly, considering recent Superman movies, cough, Man of Steel, cough, it makes a little bit more sense that Superman would want to take the fight away from where there are large sums of people that could potentially get killed or injured in the crossfire. Ultimately, it comes together when Nuclear Man scratches Superman with his Lee press-on nails, and I guess the scratch ends up affecting him, like it makes him rapidly age and become sick and frail.
Lois, what are you doing here?
I knew it.
Oh, no, I'm just Just got a really bad flu.
It's okay because earlier in the movie there's a scene where he's at the Fortress of Solitude and he finds this crystal MacGuffin, and you know it obviously gives him his powers back. And you also have it that Nuclear Man falls in love with Lacey, so he kidnaps her. They fly up into space, and again, going by the backwards ass logic that's in this movie, even for a silly Superman movie, you know, Lacey can just breathe in space. She doesn't, you know, fucking freeze or die in the cold vacuum of space. But he defeats Nuclear Man, saves Lacey, gets her back to Earth. They recycle Nuclear Man. They take his decaying body and throw it into a nuclear reactor core. And then you have it that Superman gives a speech again in front of the whole world, basically. And he says something along the lines of, like, you know, oh, world peace will truly come when people around the world really start wanting it.
And there will be peace. There will be peace when the people of the world want it so badly that their governments will have no choice but to give it to them.
Now again, we can look at this with 2025 vision and be like, oh god, that shit didn't age well. But even back in the 80s, that's just so fucking cheap. It's like, oh yeah, people just don't want world peace enough, I guess. Oh god.
I tell you who I'd write a letter to that would do some good.
Who, Santa Claus?
No, Superman.
It's easy to see why this is the worst of the original Superman movies. This is bad. I mean, as silly as some of the other ones were, you could at least take them seriously. And this definitely screams of it's a part 4. And we're gonna hit some of those a little later. But, you know, for our first entry in this video, it's definitely a part 4 because, you know, the first Superman movie and even the second Superman movie, those at least felt like, okay, we have ideas. We have like some genuine intent going into this. This one, just like with a lot of these other movies we're going to talk about, it just feels like they're like, well, we don't really know what to do. We don't really care. You know, we're just trying to make some easy money here. I mean, this is a Golden Globus movie, so they were just cheaping the fuck out to try and make back any scrap of money they could with an almost nothing budget. You know, because most of the money they already had, they would try to sprinkle along to not just this movie, but to other projects that we're working on. So any kind of budget didn't even really go into this movie specifically. But, you know, it just feels like they didn't give a fuck. They were just like, well, I don't know. Like, everyone came up with vague ideas for plots, and they were just like, well, fuck, we don't really feel like fleshing these out, so let's just Frankenstein them all together and make this stupid-ass movie. Anyway, on to the next one, Ghostbusters 2. It's easy to say that Ghostbusters 2 is no longer the worst Ghostbusters movie. A lot of people are kind of warming up to it, saying that it wasn't that bad. And, you know, after Ghostbusters 2016, I know a lot of people didn't care for Afterlife, and a lot of people really didn't seem to like Frozen Empire. I still wanted to talk about this one because, yeah, this is definitely one of the easy go-tos. And this movie suffers from a lot of the same problems that a lot of these other sequels that come out directly after the success of the first one do, and that it's basically just a watered down version of the first movie. Notably what they did with the relationship between Dana Barrett and Peter Venkman. They just hit the reset button on that. You have it that even though she has a baby now, she's a single mother trying to take care of this kid, oh, he's still trying to pick her up. He's still trying to get with her.
Don't put any of those old cheap moves on me.
No.
It's different.
I have all new cheap moves.
The biggest example of them hitting the reset button here is apparently New York just decided, oh yeah, no, there weren't really any ghosts. I guess Walter Peck was right. You know, everyone just kind of forgets, oh yeah, there were ghosts in the first movie. So much so that that's like a plot point for the first half of the thing. So that the Ghostbusters are being taken to court and sued over being fakes and frauds.
The law does not recognize the existence of ghosts. I don't believe in them either. I don't want to hear a lot of malarkey about goblins and spooks and demons. We're going to stick to the facts in this case. Leave the ghost stories to the kiddies, understood?
Honestly, this movie feels less like they were trying to make a straightforward sequel to Ghostbusters, and it felt like they were trying to make a live-action version of the cartoon show, The Real Ghostbusters. I mean, even to the point where, like, the way they had Janine look, she looked less like she did in the first movie, and they tried to make her look a little more like she did in the cartoon show. I don't think they succeeded a whole lot, but it's like, she clearly doesn't look the way she did in the first. And also, she's with Louis Tully for some reason. I guess it didn't work out between her and Egon. I don't know.
I think motherhood's a very natural instinct. I like a child myself. Would you?
Two scenes that I definitely felt were trying to be like the first movie are the end of the film, where you have it that they basically operate a giant mech of the Statue of Liberty with a fucking NES controller. That felt like they were trying to copy the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man sequence from the first. The other scene I felt that was trying to be like it was in the first movie was there's a montage where ghosts are unleashed upon New York and they have to spring into action. It's kind of like the montage when they get back to busting ghosts and they start to become successful in the first movie. It's kind of like that.
Ghostbusters attack. We ain't lying. Boy, it smells like somebody took a big
That being said, Ghostbusters 2 is not the worst Ghostbusters movie. And you know what? Despite me saying that it feels like it's desperately just trying to cash in on the first movie and the cartoon show, that both of which were really popular, this one still has enough of its own thing going on for me to say that it's not just a blatant copy point for point from the first movie. I mean, there's a lot of that in there, but there's still unique things in this one that make it stand out. The villain isn't just a carbon copy of Gozer from the first movie. You know, this time you have this eldritch god that's stuck in a painting. You know, that's pretty interesting. You know, and it's imposing enough as a villain. Even if it's weird that his assistant is a possessed Peter McNichol doing a faux European accent.
I, Vigo, the scourge of Carpathia, the sorrow of Moldavia, command you.
Oh, command me, Lord.
You got some pretty good practical effects in there. You got the mood slime, which, yeah, I guess is trying to kind of do the whole slime, ecto-slime thing from the first movie. But, you know, here it's kind of unique. It's mood slime. It's this bubbling cauldron that's, you know, filled with all the anger and pissed off emotions of New York. I thought that was kind of a unique thing.
Negative energy it must have taken to generate a flow this size.
Hey, New York. What a town.
They were also pretty good practical effects, and it was interesting to learn that the slime that they used would later be used in the remake of The Blob, so that was pretty cool.
It looks like a giant Jell-O mold.
I hate Jell-O.
Oh, come on, there's always room for Jell-O.
So yeah, Ghostbusters 2, it's not a good sequel, but it's far from the worst Ghostbusters movie. I mean, really, if it were up to me, Ghostbusters would have stopped after the first movie. You could have the cartoon show, but everything else, I mean, Ghostbusters 2 is just a watered-down version of the first one. And it's not to say that it's the worst of the series, but yeah, it's a lot of it just kind of feels like they're just trying to rehash a lot of what made the first movie work, but in a much more watered-down, safe kind of way. Next up, we got a real fucking shit show on our hands. We got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. I thought about maybe doing this one for a full review at one point, but I think it would make a lot more sense just to get this one out of the way for this video. Ninja Turtles 3 sucks. I mean, oh my god. I'm not even the world's biggest Ninja Turtles guy, and yet this is just an absolute slap in the face. I really liked the live-action Ninja Turtles movie from the 90s. I thought they did a really good job, you know, making a live-action movie with turtle costumes and animatronics that looked really good, and they maintained a very serious tone without coming across too silly or unintentionally goofy. And scenes that were supposed to be funny were funny, and scenes that were supposed to be tense and dramatic were tense and dramatic. Then you get to the second one, and that's definitely a case of a lot of it is just kind of the same movie but watered down. And you can especially tell it's a watered down version because they had a fucking rap number including Vanilla Ice. But somehow they took it a step further and they made a sequel worse than that with Ninja Turtles 3. The plot to this one is just fucking balls to the wall insane. You have it that the turtles end up getting sucked back in time. They're in the middle of ancient shogun, samurai era Japan, and you have these just generic fucking villains that are just out of one of these really generic 90s samurai movies. They think the turtles are like ancient monsters or demons that have been brought back, and they're talking about like, oh, don't worry, my lord, we can destroy them with our cannons because we're starting to discover, you know, this industrial revolution, as it were.
Once before, demons defeated my ancestors. Now they've come back for me.
My cannons can destroy these monsters, my lord. You can rewrite history.
generic fucking characters. And the reason that the turtles end up back in time is because they have to rescue April because she ended up getting sucked back in time, so they have to save her. And what follows is just a bunch of really mediocre fight scenes and a lot of terrible comedy.
I think I swallowed a frog. I hope it wasn't an ancestor.
This was the worst rescue I've ever had.
Help, I'm a turtle and I can't get up. Hey, you were expecting maybe the Addams Family?
Not only do the costumes in this look way worse than they did in the second movie, which, you know, they didn't look great. They certainly look better than this shit here. But the voice acting on the turtles is horrible.
Wow, a Legorama.
Yeah, I'll say. Hey, I'm allowed. I'm on vacation.
Right. Oh. Absolutely. Shwing.
Not that they sound exactly the same from one another, but they all vaguely have that same kind of like, whoa, dude, whoa, radical, bodacious kind of voice. And it's like, okay, maybe you give that to one of them. But the fact that almost all of them talk like that becomes really distracting, and it doesn't help the dialogue they're given sucks total ass. Add to that, much like the shitty green screen effects in Superman 4, there's some really terrible effects here, most notably, this is another one I mentioned in a previous review, but the terrible green screen effect where the bad guy is falling to his death at the end, and he's supposed to land in like a giant body of water below him, but they couldn't even add like a little splash effect, so you just have it that he disappears in thin air. My God, this is one of those movies where it's so bad it's not even fun to talk about. So yeah, I mean, a lot of other people have already talked about Ninja Turtles 3. I think that's the reason I put off doing a video on it for so long, because it's like, there are so many things to complain about.
Yo, dude. Huh? Yo, dude! Just like Elvis in Blue Hawaii.
Yet I feel like so many other people have already talked about it perfectly, and I can't add anything. All I can say is Ninja Turtles 3 fucking sucks. Next up, a movie that's at least split amongst fans. I don't know if it's as shit as Superman 4 or Ninja Turtles 3, but there are people who say it's definitely the weakest in its respective series. That being Mission Impossible 2. Thing I can appreciate about them is there's still sort of a sense of sincerity. Nowadays, with a lot of the summer blockbusters that come out, a lot of them are clearly trying to capture that Star Wars, Marvel style of writing. All of them kind of try to do that whole Joss Whedon, quippy, zingy dialogue where everyone has like a one-liner at the end of every scene, and every character does it. But these movies, for the most part, don't seem to be doing that. There's sort of a sincerity to them, which I actually appreciate. That being said, you know, I like these movies, but I'm not in love with them like a lot of other people are. And I think that's mostly just because, I mean, I can only take these movies in small doses. They're good. I'm not going to deny that they're good, but they're not my favorite. That being said, it seems like when you ask a lot of people what's the worst Mission Impossible sequel, a lot of them seem to say Mission Impossible 2. And rewatching it for this, yeah, I can kind of see why a lot of people would say that. Again, it's kind of like Ghostbusters 2 in that it's not that it's the worst sequel ever made, but there's just some about it that's just not good, especially when you compare it to the first one. And I think that's my main problem with it. The first Mission Impossible is a really well done, well structured movie. And it's not to say that this doesn't have some good moments to it, but overall, compared to the first one, it is a major step down. Which is weird because this movie was a fucking massive success when it came out. I think one of the biggest problems with this movie is that it definitely feels like a giant ego fest for Tom Cruise. And I've said this before in another video, but Tom Cruise is one of those guys where I think he's a very good actor, but as a person he comes off conceited and full of himself. And, well, that's definitely the case with this one. This movie is like the fucking foam finger #1 glove for Tom Cruise. Every chance they get to show how Tom Cruise is awesome, they take it. Tom Cruise is just like the ultimate badass you don't fuck with in this movie. These constant scenes of him doing martial arts, and he does his own stunts, and admittedly some of them are impressive. I mean, there's the knife scene where there's a knife that's just really close to his eye. Really, even compared to some of the Mission Impossibles that followed, this doesn't really feel like a Mission Impossible movie half the time. It mostly feels like one, it feels like it's Tom Cruise trying to stroke his ego, and two, it feels like a shitty martial arts movie. And yeah, I know John Woo was kind of known for martial arts movies, and you know what? I'll give him this. He definitely tried adding his own flavor to the movie, and it feels like he was trying to do his own unique thing with it, which is commendable, but at the same time, I don't think it really works well for a franchise like Mission Impossible. So going along with Superman 4, the plot is a little too close to home in a post-COVID world, because the main plot is that the bad guy of the movie is trying to concoct this deadly virus so that he can find an antidote and sell it back at a profit. And okay, it's a martial arts movie. Now you got a little bit of James Bond in the mix, because Ethan Hunt's character doesn't really feel like he did in the first movie, and it's just Tom Cruise playing like espionage, playboy, James Bond type character. You know, he gets this super hot girl, and
Do you mind if I'm on top?
Either way works for me.
there's a scene where they're driving cars next to each other, and it's supposed to be really, really sexy and passionate and badass, I guess. And the entire time I'm like, this is just a shittier version of the scene from GoldenEye. Even like the opening credits is just goofy. You have it that like Tom Cruise, first time you see him in the movie, he's rock climbing, and then in a tank top to show off, you know, his awesome body and show off his awesome hair. And he puts on these sunglasses that let him know what his mission is. He takes the sunglasses, flings them at the camera, and then they explode in really crappy early 2000s CG, and then the credits roll. The action is pretty cool, and I mean, the third act, as goofy as it is, the action does kind of bring it up a bit, but at the same time, there's just so much about it that's just really fucking goofy, and it feels like the movie can't really decide what it wants to be. Now, if some people were to tell me that they were really big fans of the franchise and they really enjoyed this movie for how silly it was, I really can't blame them. I think one of the reasons I didn't get into it was because I'm only just a casual fan of Mission Impossible. I'm assuming if you like the franchise, you might like this one, but me personally, I was just, I don't know, some of that just didn't work with me. The stuff that was cool was pretty cool, but a lot of it I thought just came off as really silly. And speaking of a movie that is tonally confused, that brings us to Matrix 3. Matrix Revolutions. They made the second and third Matrix movie back to back. Yeah, they pulled a Back to the Future with this one. Except here's the thing. People can rail on Back to the Future 3 all they want. I actually prefer Back to the Future 3 way more than this one. Because, okay, simply put, I am of the opinion there should only have been one Matrix movie. Sort of the same thing we said with Ghostbusters earlier, but even more so with this movie in particular. I feel like The Matrix is a perfectly good movie in its own right, and there was no reason for them to have to make sequels other than the fact that The Matrix was one of, if not the biggest movie of 1999. Then Warner Brothers, being the greedy fucks that they are, decided, you know what, we can fucking franchise this bitch out, and they just decided, hey, let's greenlight not one, but two sequels, and they decided to rush them out, and they released them in the exact same year, months apart from each other. Second Matrix movie, Matrix Reloaded, I don't like it as much as the first one, but I still think it's the better sequel out of these movies. And I could talk about Matrix 4, but I've only seen that twice, and I really didn't have any kind of major feelings towards it, positive or negative. So rewatching the Matrix movies for this video and rewatching Matrix 3, I'm comfortable in saying this is the one I like the least. I think the major problem with it is this is a 2-hour movie where you try to desperately rush the story to try and end the story to the series. You have a lot of major things that happen in this movie, like Trinity dies.
One more chance to say what I really wanted to say. Kiss me.
And you think that Neo dies.
Will we ever see him again?
I suspect so.
Now, the two reasons why I really don't like this movie in particular when it comes to the rest of the series is, for one, it feels like they could have easily just trimmed the fat and have the second movie and this movie just be one really long movie. But of course, Warner Brothers, being the greedy fucks they are, were like, no, 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 we're gonna fucking franchise. We're gonna make this a trilogy, so that way people would have to spend twice the money to see how this fucking series ends before they decided, like a good 20 or so years later, to start fresh with yet another one. And secondly, this one just feels like a major step down compared to the first one, which felt very intelligently written. And yeah, I know there are plenty of people nowadays that say, oh, The Matrix is overrated, and oh, it's not as clever as people think it is. Oh, the whole virtual world thing has been done long before this movie did it with short stories and stuff like Westworld. I get that. I get that. I feel like The Matrix was a good movie that was very intelligently written and was very clever in how it handled a lot of its storytelling. Then you get to this movie where once you get to the hour mark and it just becomes a gigantic action sequence for about an hour, it just feels like every generic Roland Emmerich or fucking Michael Bay or Jerry Bruckheimer action summer blockbuster, and it's
Heads up, they're coming down!
This is not what The Matrix was about. It's, oh my god, it feels like it's all style over substance. And that's why I say I feel like this movie, they should have just trimmed the fat and they should have just had the second one just, you know, edit some of these things together and just make it just one movie. This didn't need to be a trilogy. It's not like it really matters. Now we got the fourth one, and I think they said they wanted to make a new trilogy with, you know, Matrix Resurrection being like the first of this new trilogy. I don't know how far they're going to get with that. I don't know if they have anything planned. I haven't read anything about that yet, but really, I don't know. Out of all the Matrix movies, this is the one I liked watching the least. And as far as I can tell, this was definitely very poorly received when it came out, and a lot of people seem to maintain this is the weakest one, so I'm pretty confident in saying that too. Yeah, I wasn't really big on Matrix Revolutions. Next up, going back to comedy, we have American Reunion, the fourth American Pie movie. I like with The Matrix and another comedy we're going to be talking about a little bit later, I think American Pie honestly should have just been one movie. I really feel like there was no reason for any more American Pie movies. The direct-to-video spin-offs I wasn't a fan of, and I really wasn't that big a fan of any of the sequels. And yeah, I know American Pie is one of those movies that's been, you know, reevaluated and analyzed, and it's like, oh, it didn't age well, or some of it's problematic. Even with that said, I still think the first American Pie movie is pretty funny, but even still, I really feel like there's no reason to go past the first American Pie. And, you know, I barely remember anything from the second one. I remember not really liking that one that much. I remember it honestly just being a watered-down version of the first one, but with more Stifler in it. And the third one, every time I catch glimpses of it on TV, the more I actively start to dislike it more and more. So then you get to this one, which isn't the worst of the American Pie movies, but I will say it's definitely the blandest. Because while there is crazy R-rated shenanigans going on in this one, it feels like the most generic out of all of them. I feel like this movie, along with another comedy we're going to get to a little bit later, I feel like this is less of a movie, and it feels like an hour-and-a-half long version of one of those Super Bowl commercials where they get all the stars from a popular movie from like 20 years ago to come back, and it's like, oh, it's so cute to see everybody back together again, and it's like, yeah, that's cute, but the movie itself is just not that good.
By the way, I had no clue what I was doing with any of this shit, so you got a lot of work to do.
We'll give them this. The idea is kind of interesting to have it like, oh, what would it be like to do a high school reunion, especially after the events of the first movie, seeing everybody get together. Oh, what would that be like? And you got some interesting dynamics going on here. You have it that Jason Biggs and Allison Hannigan have a baby, and what's his name, Kevin or whatever, the guy who was with Tara Reid in the first movie, he's now like a stay-at-home dad. And, you know, in one of the many subplots in this movie, you have it that, oh, he wants to be a good husband, but then he meets up with Tara Reid, and oh, will he get together with her again? I will admit, I find that subplot a little funny because that was before Tara Reid basically became the poor man's Tara Reid. But that Chris Klein finally came back to the series after ducking out of the third movie because I think he had drug problems, and he was also trying to take his acting career in a different direction.
What's up, class of 99ers?
Oh my god, Vicky!
Hi.
Hey,
I can't believe you're here.
Yeah, I flew in from New York last night.
We started in a bunch of shit like the crappy Rollerball remake and Street Fighter Legend of Chun-Li. He was in that too. But yeah, this time you have it that he's like a retired football guy, and now he's like a sports commentator, and he lives in a mansion, and he does like commercials now, and he has a model girlfriend who cheats on him every once in a while when he's not in the house. So when he comes back to the reunion, he meets up with that girl that he was in love with in the first two movies, and oh, will they get back together?
Heather.
Chris,
Hey,
what are you doing here?
I guess we had the same idea, huh?
Chris, this is Ron, my boyfriend.
Then you have Stifler, who honestly was probably the most interesting character in the whole movie. I mean, you know, he actually has the closest to an arc in that, you know, he's now a corporate drone who's trying to suck up to some CEO douchebag. But when he's not around, he's just being Stifler like usual, saying a bunch of really crude things, doing really rude things around the office that in real life, you know, would just be an HR nightmare. But
Gee, give me some love.
I'm good, Stifler.
What are you doing here? Don't you know they fired your ass? Whoa. I'm just fucking with you. Or am I? I'd be working hard. You weren't hired for your looks. Actually, you were. Not you. Coffee for the pretty lady?
Sure, thanks.
Let me know if you want some creamer with that.
it was one of the few things that actually had a spark of life, because really everything that wasn't Stifler or Eugene Levy, but really any of the scenes that weren't Stifler, I just found immensely boring. And there's Finch, who, you know, they try to have it like, oh, he's this badass who he's riding on a motorcycle and has a leather jacket, and he's been traveling the world and indulging in different cultures. And then later on in the movie, you know, close to the third act, you have it that there's this big like reveal scene where they're all talking about how miserable their lives are. And it was one of the few things I laughed at.
Truth is that my life isn't interesting at all. I am an assistant manager at a Staples in Bayonne, New Jersey.
Otherwise, this is just a very just bland coming of age movie where, you know, a bunch of people who were probably really happy in their high school years are just kind of reflecting on how miserable their lives are now or how they're not going anywhere. And it's just, I don't know, the whole tone of the movie is just kind of bland and uninteresting. And it really doesn't feel like an American Pie movie after a while. It starts to feel like one of those movies where it's like, this just could have been its own movie. This didn't even need to be American Pie. And it was really making me wonder, it's like, who the hell wanted a fourth American Pie movie in 2012? But then when you look at the credits, it says produced by Jason Biggs and Sean William Scott, and it's like, oh, well, see, there you go. That's when it all made perfect sense. Intermixed with a bunch of cameos from people from the first movie where you get to see what they look like after all those years after the first movie came out. You just get a bunch of the same. I mean, when the movie does try to be raunchy, it's just rehashed garbage that we've seen a million times before. There's a scene where they have this crazy party, and Jason Biggs wakes up in his kitchen, and his wife, Allison Hannigan, and a friend of theirs are talking, and he stands up. It seems like he's clothed, but then he steps out, and he doesn't have any pants or underwear, so his dick is hanging out, and then he grabs the lid to a crock pot and tries to cover himself, but his dick is just pressing up against the glass, and it's
Father of my child.
Oh, and in grand American Pie tradition, you have it that there's this big comedic set piece where you establish there's this girl that used to live next to him that he used to babysit, but now she's 18, and she apparently had a thing for Jason Biggs, which again made perfect sense when you find out that Jason Biggs produced it, so this is clearly some kind of power fantasy, I guess.
I can't believe it's you. You don't remember me, do you? Remember Teletubby Tuesdays?
Kara?
That girl ends up getting drunk at a party. He drives her home. He tries to bring her inside, but one thing leads to another. She ends up getting naked, so there's no way he can take her in through the front door because her friends and family are there. So then he calls his other friends over to help lift her through the window so that they can drop her off in her bedroom, and then they have to sneak downstairs while dodging her family. It's so dumb. It's so stupid. It's just as stupid as the Three's Company-esque shit in Superman 4 where he's going back and forth between the interview and the date. That being said, every once in a blue moon, there was a joke here and there that would kind of make me chuckle, and I think the movie does get a little better as it goes. the characters I enjoyed the most was definitely Eugene Levy, and they brought back Jennifer Coolidge as Stifler's mom. And you have it that they eventually end up hooking up because I guess Jason Biggs' character's mom passed away, and there's a actually admittedly pretty touching scene where he's trying to cheer up his dad and be like, Dad, Mom would want you to move on. You've grieved long enough, and she knows that you love her, but it's time you gotta move on.
There are services out there.
Services?
Yeah.
Like what? A happy ending?
What's that?
Because I won't go there.
Oh my God.
I don't need that. I don't need that kind of massage.
That's not what I was.
Jim.
Why do you even know
what?
about
It's
that?
dangerous.
Yeah.
And you can pick things up. You don't even want to know what you can pick up. Talk to your Uncle Mort.
I'd rather not.
He was in the hospital for 2 weeks.
Disgusting.
And then you subvert expectations and you have it that instead of Finch having sex with Stifler's mom, this time it's Stifler having sex with Finch's mom. Really, other than that, I really had no major reaction to this movie. I didn't really like it, but at the same time, I can't really say I was expecting anything. Because like I said, I haven't really liked any of the American Pie movies after the first one, so yeah, this one just kind of felt like, whatever. It's exactly what I expected.
We try to get together, like, every year. What do you say? Till next time?
Till next time. Till next time.
Next up, we got Scary Movie 5. I have a very interesting relationship with the Scary Movie movies. I hesitate calling them good, but I'm not gonna lie, I do laugh at a lot of them. Even parts 3 and 4, which I know a lot of people think are stupid, but I used to watch those movies a lot in middle school, so I'm not gonna say that those are great movies or anything, but I can't deny the fact I do laugh at some of the stupid shit in them. That being said, Scary Movie 5 definitely feels like the black sheep of the series because this one was not helmed by either the Wayans brothers, who did the first two, or the Zucker brothers, who did the third and fourth movie. This time it was done by Malcolm D. Lee, who has made a couple of movies I thought were fine. Like, he made Undercover Brother and Roll Bounce and Soul Men with Bernie Mac and Sam Jackson. He's made a couple of movies I liked. But he also made Scary Movie 5 and Space Jam: A New Legacy, so...
With one bomb, most famous of all quotes. This battle is now over. That's all, folks.
I would talk about Space Jam 2 for this video, but that's yet another one of those movies. I think I'm going to save that for a full-on video in the future. There's so much to talk about with that fucking movie. As for Scary Movie 5, it's not like we were really working with great material to begin with, but this one just feels like the awkward attempt at rebooting the series when no one really cares anymore. I mean, it's interesting that Charlie Sheen and Simon Rex are characters in this movie, even though both their characters died at the beginning of part 4. But then again, this is a Scary Movie where, I mean, that kind of thing doesn't really matter. They killed Brenda so many times throughout these movies, and she keeps coming back every time. I don't even really know how to describe this one. I mean, the main parodies in here are Mama and Paranormal Activity, and sprinkled in between are a bunch of references to shit that was popular, I don't know, 2-3 years prior. I mean, in here you got references to Black Swan.
Look at that form, that technique.
Medea.
Hell, you better sit back while punching your damn throat. We try to enjoy the show. You gonna shoot me again.
Inception.
What does that have to do with my... Hey!
Oh. Let's start over.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
He's so smart, why is he in a cage?
You're in the cage.
And fucking 50 Shades of Grey before there was even 50 Shades of Grey movies.
I've been expecting you. Please, come in. They call me Christian Grey. How do you like my blue room?
It's red.
Oh, I'm colorblind. My decorator assured me that... Never mind.
Even more so than the other Scary movies that had weird random references to just stuff that was relevant at the time, this feels like a collection of, like, rejected Mad TV sketches where it's like you have bad impersonators and, like, there's no reason for any of this shit to be happening other than, hey, remember when this was relevant? Look, we're parodying Honey Boo Boo. That's a thing people are talking about in 2013, right?
Appreciate, man. Golly, man. I'd like to thank you a lot, man, for working out my prostrate like it was a speed bag.
Yes, Michael, I must admit, I was surprised at your performance as well. Not bad for a washed-up, overweight, facially tattooed... Do it again.
Even when there are some things that could have been funny, like the Inception parody scene, I feel like they just kind of fumbled it. It's like, you know, you got a kind of creative idea. Oh, Inception, you have it that now the dog is getting plugged in and he's going to go into their dream. And then it just results in the typical dogs humping joke. Didn't even try. There were 3 things I laughed at. And none of these are really good jokes, but I guess I was so desperate for a laugh, they got me. There's a scene where they're at a club and you see a DJ, instead of working like records on the turntables, he's working pizzas.
Kendra, this isn't the cabin I was talking about. I know,
I don't know, there's something about that felt like an old Zucker Brothers movie. It's like one of those like just dumb, weird, quirky visual gags. There's a scene where, like I said, they parody Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Unfortunately, 29 of them turned into insane, aggressive, deviant sexual predators.
And then the third thing I laughed at was, I forget which Paranormal Activity movie it was, but there was one where they had a vacuum cleaner come to life in the middle of the night. So the joke is you have a vacuum cleaner that comes to life and it throws a pool party. Feels like they were trying to make a new generation for Scary Movie. So instead of having Anna Faris and Regina Hall, who were honestly the best parts of any of those movies, like those two had really good chemistry. And, you know, Anna Faris was like really goofy. Even when she was mugging and saying stupid shit, she was pretty funny. And Regina Hall just has really good comedic timing. This time you have Ashley Tisdale and Erica Ash. And I don't know, like, compared to Anna Faris, Ashley Tisdale was just really wooden and stiff most of the movie. And while Erica Ash was trying, it still felt like she didn't have the same kind of energy that Regina Hall usually did with these movies.
Okay, just stay calm.
Front door open.
she's in the house.
Front door open.
Okay, stay. Shut the hell up!
The opening scene has, it's a sex tape that shows Charlie Sheen and Lindsay Lohan, who, by the way, Lindsay Lohan was also in Inappropriate Comedy that same year. So, yeah, that was not a good time in Lindsay Lohan's life. But, you know, they're doing this sex tape, and then it fucking goes into fast motion, and they're playing, like, not Benny Hill music. Fucking really? We're really trying to do this now? Fuck. You know, it's really saying something when Haunted House, which I think came out the same year from the Wayans brothers, was way better. And that wasn't even that good to begin with, but compared to Scary Movie 5, it was still better. Though in Scary Movie 5's defense, it was still better than Movie 43 in Inappropriate Comedy. Last thing I want to say about Scary Movie 5 is, while Scary Movie 6 might not be very good, I'm curious to see what they do with it, especially considering they're apparently getting Anna Faris to come back, and the Wayans brothers are back in control, so it makes me wonder, you know, what they're going to do with it. It seems like they're going to try and parody some of the recent Scream movies, so it's like, all right, bring it back to its roots. And it also helps that we have a remake or reboot or whatever of I Know What You Did Last Summer, so who knows, maybe they can have some fun parodying the whole horror remake, reboot, legacy sequel era of horror that we're getting these days. It'd be interesting to see what they do. It's got to be better than this one.
Enjoy Earth while you still got it.
Next up, coming out that exact same year in 2013, we have the movie that I was bringing up a lot with American Reunion, with Hangover Part III. Much like The Matrix and much like American Pie, I really like the first Hangover movie. And rewatching them for the sake of this video, I think the first Hangover movie is just like American Pie in that, yeah, some people probably don't think it holds up or it hasn't aged well or whatever, but I really like the first Hangover. In fact, honestly, I'm willing to say it was probably one of the funniest movies of 2009. Then came sequels that didn't need to happen. And while the second Hangover is sort of the same thing as Ghostbusters 2 in that it's just a watered down version of the first movie, though admittedly it is a little bit darker than the first movie. I mean, like, holy shit, they went from Las Vegas to Bangkok. Then you get to this one, which at least tries to do something different, and I think they absolutely fumbled it. A lot to this one is that Alan's dad passes away, so Alan stops taking his medication, and they decide to take him to a rehab facility. But on the way there, they end up getting stopped by a crazy gang that's being led by a crazy, like, crime lord, played by a horribly underused John Goodman.
A problem, officer?
Not anymore, motherfucker.
Leslie Chow stole $21 million from me on a Tuesday.
He has connections to Leslie Chow, of course. You got to bring Mr. Chow in. And Mr. Chow stole a shit ton of money from this guy. And even though this guy is supposed to be some powerful crime lord, instead of sending a bunch of his men guns a-blazing after Chow, he decides to send fucking Larry, Moe, and Curly over here.
Chow is a cancer. He has been a cancer since the first day we met him. So we're going to hand him over to this guy, Marshall, and then it's done.
In grand Hangover tradition, you can't have it that Doug joins in because Doug is apparently the most useless member of the group. So they take him as insurance, and the three of them, of Phil, Stu, and Alan, have to go and get Mr. Chow.
Doug is my insurance. He stays with me. You don't give me Chow, I blow his brains out. You go.
Can you take Stu instead?
Fuck you, Alan.
The movie has so many opportunities to be interesting, but it feels like they just rely solely on, hey, you love the chemistry between these guys, so let's just have them do a bunch of stupid banter and bullshit all throughout. And they love having Alan just act stupid.
This says Chow. How did you not know this was from Chow?
At the time, I thought it was ciao like goodbye. You know, like ciao, arrivederci, sabaro, papa ciao.
I'm writing him back.
If it isn't that, it's Mr. Chow. They just have poor Ken Jeong mincing his way through this fucking movie, and it's just kind of sad. I mean, as someone who really liked Ken Jeong, he just ran that character into the ground, and I blame the studio. They just kept going, oh, people love that character. Just keep playing that same character you played in The Hangover. And man, they milk it to the nth degree in this thing.
Quick, give me some sugar. Come on, come on, come on.
What the fuck? Did he just kiss him?
But it's not just Alan and Mr. Chow. You got fucking Bradley Cooper and Ed Helms in the back, basically serving the same role. They're just there to have their arms crossed and just go, what the fuck? What the fuck's going on? What the fuck? Although in the case of Ed Helms, they usually have him scream it.
Fucking bullseye.
Are you out of your mind?
And then when you have interesting setups for situations, like they're in the middle of Tijuana and that's where they try to find Chow, and then there's a part later where they end up having to go back to Las Vegas to actually capture him. There are so many interesting things you could do, and they don't do it. You have Heather Graham show up, and you see the baby from the first movie is now a little bit older, and, well, yeah, as forced as her cameo was, I guess it's better than having Mike Tyson show up for no reason. But yeah, this one, they tried doing something different, and I want to commend them for it. And in fairness, there are a few things I laughed at here and there.
Kick me, motherfucker.
There's a couple of remarks here and there that, like Mr. Chow would say, that were kind of funny. Fucked up, but funny. Because, oh my god, I gotta say, the animal death in this movie, holy shit.
What the fuck is wrong with those chickens?
They're angry. All I feed them is cocaine. And chicken.
Oh, and spoiler alert, for a movie that came out in 2013, you have it that Alan ends up getting married at the end. Once they finally are done with Mr. Chow and they kill off John Goodman, and get Doug back, you have it that Alan decides he's going to finally grow up for the first time, which is one of the few things I laughed at. But you have it that he ends up marrying this pawn shop lady played by Melissa McCarthy, who was in like literally one other scene before this. But, you know, the movie ends with them going to Alan's wedding, and then there's a mid-credit thing where they wake up, they had another crazy night, there's another hangover situation going on.
What did you do, Alan?
The wedding cake. It was from Leslie.
Oh my god.
We had a sick night, bitches!
And the entire time I'm like, motherfucker, why wasn't this the movie? Like, this is what I'm talking about, where it's like, you have interesting ideas and setups, and they all they're just fumble thumbs the whole movie. Oh my god, yeah. I mean, Hangover 2 is not a very good sequel, but I'd happily take Hangover 2 over this. I'm honestly kind of surprised when people say Hangover 2 was the worst of these movies, because I don't know, man. Even when I first saw this one, I was like, God, this is the weakest fucking Hangover movie. Though at least, thank God, this was the last one. They didn't even try to make a Mr. Chow spin-off movie or anything. So I guess there's that. At least they didn't try to keep making more after this.
I'm sorry, I didn't know you worked for Peter.
And now lastly, we end with the most recent of a big budget failure of a sequel with Jurassic World Dominion. This film sucks so hard. I mean, it's so bad, it makes Jurassic Park 2 and Jurassic Park 3 look good. It makes the other Jurassic World movies look good, which is saying something because I don't really despise the first Jurassic World movie. I hesitate calling it good, and it's clearly not as good as the original Jurassic Park, but in terms of a dumb, campy, dinosaur-filled summer blockbuster, it's fine. It's fine for what it is. But then the sequels came around, and they got progressively stupider. There's a dinosaur black market, and cloning of humans, like the main girl that's in the movie, she's cloned with the same technology they used to clone the dinosaurs. It's really, really stupid. And just when you think they couldn't push the limit, along comes Dominion, which still made a decent amount of money, but clearly didn't make the same kind of splash that the first two Jurassic World movies did. This is probably the longest of the movies that we're talking about for this video, and I'm gonna try and keep this short because really, I don't have a whole lot to say. There's a lot of terrible shit in this movie, but, God, I feel like I really don't have a lot to talk about. There was just so much going on, and yet so little of it kept my attention. First of all, this is a 2.5-hour movie, and in total, there are like 15 minutes of dinosaurs going on in this film. Like the version I watched of the movie is, I think it's the theatrical cut, which has even less dinosaurs in it than the other version that came out. But yeah, it begins with this viral video because the end of the last movie had dinosaurs escaping Jurassic Park, and now they're roaming around in day-to-day life. And of course, it's kind of shaken the world up a bit.
Dinosaurs are in our world. And with every confrontation, we learn more about this frightening new reality.
You got Chris Pratt and a couple of his boys trying to wrangle up these dinosaurs.
We're gonna get you someplace safe.
All the while, Bryce Dallas Howard is just kind of there. I mean, she has zero personality whatsoever. People railed on the first Jurassic World for not having strong enough female characters or whatever. She is literally just there to be the romantic interest for Chris Pratt, and that's it. She barely does anything of note.
Oh, you like that, do you?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
And they come across this this woman who has she has a plane, and she's gonna help them, you know, get around the world. And she's pretty much like what's the right way to put it? She's very Han Solo-like, I guess, the way they write her. You know, she has this old rust bucket plane, but still gets the job done like the Millennium Falcon. You have it that, you know, she has like a wise-ass comeback every now and then. She's basically like this movie's equivalent of a Han Solo. All she was missing was like a dinosaur companion that could be her Chewbacca.
You good?
Yeah, I'm not shook at all. You?
There's a part in the middle of the movie where they end up in Malta, and there's like a chase through the city streets. You got Chris Pratt on a motorcycle, and there's velociraptors running around and dinosaurs in the middle of the street attacking people. It feels like the movie became something completely different. It's like, okay, now this is just like a Bourne Identity movie or like a Mission Impossible movie with dinosaurs, and stop these poachers from selling these dinosaurs on the black market and have these like underground cockfights with dinosaurs. Let me tell you, this movie about dinosaurs is way less interested in dinosaurs than it is with locusts, because, you know, at the same genetics lab that we had from the last one, where you have this evil tech genius who's trying to genetically clone locusts, and of course the locusts start growing gigantic, and you know there's huge swarms of them that could fuck up crops and enough, and I don't even know if this was intentional. It wouldn't surprise me if it was, but it's funny how they tried to make that guy look like the current head of Apple, whatever that guy's name is. Even their building kind of looks like the Apple headquarters.
We can't anticipate everything.
We need to eradicate the ones we released.
What?
All of them.
No. No, Henry.
Like yesterday.
We don't want to cause a panic. We want control.
But yeah, there's honestly more focus on this, of these locusts that are going to come out and fuck up crops and fuck up the Earth's environment. than there is dinosaurs, and in an almost 2.5-hour movie. And I was really trying to pay attention throughout this thing, but it was just so dull for a lot of it. I kept nodding off. It's like, oh god, this is not keeping my attention. It's like, you could say that Jurassic World was stupid, but at least it was like a fun kind of stupid. It gave you all the dinosaur action that you'd expect in a movie like it. This is just dull. And it really surprises me. It's like, wait, they're making another one of these? Really? And even parts near the end that you think would be kind of cool, like, oh yeah, we're having Laura Dern and Jeff Goldblum and the other guy from Jurassic Park. You have them meet up with Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt. You think that would be really cool, and yet it wasn't. It was pretty lame.
They helped me escape.
Okay.
In the end of the movie, it's like going back to what we said with Superman 4. It's like, even in the realms of it's just a movie, it's just like you can't help but just think like, okay, no, it's not that easy. Because at the end of the movie, they're just like, well, we're just gonna have to accept the fact that dinosaurs are now roaming around. And it's like, okay, yeah, nice sentiment and, you know, pretty visuals and all, but no, I feel like there's just no way that those dinosaurs would mingle in the same way that regular present day animals would. So then again, it's a Jurassic World movie, so what the fuck ever would you expect?
Nope.
Okay, so to round this out, what did I think was the best and what did I think was the worst? Well, I'm gonna pull up the list here of the movies, and best of them, this is tough. Probably Ghostbusters 2. I mean, like, American Reunion's biggest sin was that it was just kind of bland. And Mission Impossible 2, I can easily see people enjoying. But I think for me, yeah, I'll probably go Ghostbusters 2. The biggest crime that movie committed was that it's just kind of a watered down version of the first one. While some of these other movies are trying way too hard to be something they're not, or are trying way too hard to be cool, or just didn't have anything interesting to offer. The worst of the bunch, fuck, that's tough. As much as I really hated stuff like Hangover 3 and Jurassic World Dominion, I think I'm going to say it's a tie between Superman 4 and Ninja Turtles 3. I mean, fuck, man. Superman 4, you could argue maybe its heart was in the right place, but I don't think that stops all the stupid shit that happens in that, and nothing is saving Ninja Turtles 3. So yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna go with for my best and worst of the movies for tonight. Anyways, guys, that does it for Blockbusters in June. Look forward to July, where we're gonna be reviewing a superhero movie and an anime movie, and I'm not sure what should come after that. I don't know if it should be a comedy or an action movie or a science fiction movie or a horror film. I'll definitely try to figure that out, but either way, until then, guys, I'm Adam Sykes of The Blockbuster Show, and we will see you guys in the next video.